This week's episode of Quality Irrelevant is brought to you by Uncle Jimmy's family-style homemade crystal meth. These days, we're in too much of a hurry to take our crystal meth. Uncle Jimmy's remember the days when the whole family would gather around the dinner table and make memories over a steaming hot bowl of homemade crystal meth. And weren't they just a little bit more special? We take the smoothest, creamiest methamphetamine hydrochloride, had a little bit of that Uncle Jimmy's family-style homemade magic, and deliver it straight to your bloodstream and brain to make you forget all your worries. So forget takeaways and microwave stimulants, and enjoy this week's episode of Quality Irrelevant with a heaping helping of Uncle Jimmy's family-style homemade crystal meth. You'll barely regret it.
Who is Uncle Jimmy? He doesn't sound like a good sort.
He's a mysterious benefactor for the podcast, sort of a shadowy figure that drops off piles of money immediately before recording and then makes us advertise his intercontinental ballistic missiles and crystal meth.
That's weird that you should mention the idea of a mysterious benefactor, because a mysterious benefactor features in about 3 of my ideas this week, so that's gonna be a running theme, no doubt.
Have you done some sort of scheme to make this podcast good, and all it is we sit and hope that a mysterious benefactor gives us money?
Well, that's idea 1 off the table. Okay, well, at least we're reducing the amount of time we need to record for, I guess. Right, I guess we can sort of begin it now that we have done the ad bit where we got all the money in and the check has arrived.
Yep.
Just as a warning, this is not going to be a good week.
Oh.
That's not a comment on the quality of the material that my co-host has prepared, because as you know, quality is not relevant here.
No, there was something about that in maybe the title of the podcast. I can't really remember.
Fuck knows. But no, I just get a feeling that last week it was top notch. We were on par. We did well. We really pulled out all the stops. This week, I think it's just going to be a bit of like a long, sweaty fart. We're a bit lethargic. It's difficult to keep the energy up. This is going to be a down week, but that's okay. It's like in the show, the TV show, it gets dark, it gets brooding. It's sort of, we bring the tone down a bit, not be so hyper and insane and erratic.
Well, I'd like to point out that you are only speaking for yourself. We had a mysterious benefactor. I don't want to name names or anything, but he dropped off some stuff. I don't want to give another advert without getting more money for it, but it's really good.
You've been trialing the sponsor's product.
I mean, I have. I don't think we can, in all good conscience, take on a sponsor if we have not tried and tested the product ourselves.
That's true, yes. I did have a very good week when Fire was our sponsor.
I had a good week drinking intercontinental ballistic missiles last week.
Damn right. Very expensive, but we got them for free, so...
super refreshing.
Radioactive urine.
Yeah, that's a side effect.
Which we can sell to the Russians, no doubt. Oh shit, I shouldn't say that on the podcast. That should be like a under-the-table deal.
And I'm just gonna cross out my scheme for this week, because you just ruined it.
I am thinking that maybe we start another podcast called Under the Table, and it's a private podcast only for subscribers and sponsors.
What does it entail? Do we do all our under the table deals on that podcast?
Yeah, we just talk about everything illegal. We just put it there, and it's fine because the police aren't allowed to listen to it because it's only for subscribers.
Yep. And specifically not police.
Exactly, so that's fine. And we'll say at the beginning, it can't be used as evidence because this is all fictional.
I think that's legally binding.
To be honest, I've never really understood that thing in, the crime drama where they wear the wire, and go in and they record the person, because couldn't the person just say, oh, I was rehearsing for a play? You can't prove it. When I said I killed the man and took all the meth and ate the children, that was lines for a play I was in when I was being recorded.
Yeah, and that's why we should replace police wiretaps with helmets that have cameras on them. Like very obvious, big, clunky cameras, like HD, obviously, maybe even 4K, that just capture the whole scenario so there can be no doubt in a court of law that they were not rehearsing for a play and they were stabbing a child in the eye at the time that they said they were stabbing a child in the eye.
But I suppose when it comes to the more sort of vocal confessions, like, oh, I did the crime, and the snitch, the turncoat, probably called something like Stooley McRat.
Stooley McRat.
Yeah.
I mean, his parents envisaged a very poor life for him.
You know, when he gets it on tape, all the lists of crimes, all the arson and the murderings and the regicide and all that. When you get pulled up in front of the court, can't you just say, oh, I was just lying. That was just a lie. That was one of those lie jokes. Because if not, we're in a lot of trouble.
So if they just go like, that was a prank. We were doing a prank on someone by lighting their car on fire while they were in it.
Well, no, you could say like, yeah, that person's car did get lit on fire, but I wasn't anywhere near there. Prove it. And when they're like, well, we have a recording of you confessing to that, just say, oh, no, but that was just a lie. When I confessed to it, that was just, I was just lying. I just made it up. I was just saying stuff. Why are there consequences for saying things? That's not fair.
Your Honour.
Yeah, because I really think we need to have this legal precedent set in stone, or else we're in some trouble.
We probably should have thought about this before putting any episodes actually out in the world.
Yeah, I am thinking that we may need to redact a lot of what we've already put out there, because if we can't just say, oh, we're being silly, Your Honour, like if that isn't good enough for the justice system, then I'm pretty sure I'm going to be put away at some point in my life, no matter what.
Yeah, this is damning evidence of whatever we have said that we are doing.
I think we should just bulldoze through that problem and pretend we haven't discovered that.
All right.
On with the show.
Ignorance is the best course of action in all cases.
I can't remember where we are or what's going on, but we do have some recriminations and sentiments. I have several, and I believe you have several. Who wants to go first?
You can go first. I'm feeling magnanimous this week.
Yep, let's spin the wheel of misfortune and find out what our viewers think of us. This one is pretty good. Superb, witty, sharp. Plus, you learn something. Theo and Phil routinely bring in some excellent and varied guests. Also a pleasure to see being recorded live. Now, what I think has happened here is that this is possibly a review that has been left from the future.
Yeah.
From the far distant future year of 2013, when the podcast has clearly become very, very successful, and we will have guests, and we will do live shows. Can you imagine?
Well, that's exciting, isn't it?
It is. I'm glad that must be a review left from the future, and it's totally not one I've stolen from a different show.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
We are the best. That's what I get from that.
There's one that's been left here that just says irrelevant.
There's a bit missing off that, I think. I think they might have made a mistake.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think maybe they thought the review section was Google.
Yeah.
Like they were trying to Google us and fucked it up.
I think that's probably exactly what happened.
And also, I'm pretty sure that if you type quality into Google, the first thing that comes up is our podcast.
I think so.
If I do it on my browser, that is what comes up. So that must mean that's what comes up for everyone. Because it's not like I'm sat at home just Googling the name of our podcast, hoping to rack up some hits. And all Google is doing is adjusting the algorithm in my browser to hit the things that I keep searching for, and it actually has zero effect on everyone else in the world.
Well, that's just ridiculous. Like, everybody has the same Google.
Yeah, there's only the one.
Not everybody has a different Google each.
Yeah, that's bullshit. What are they doing? Collecting data to improve your user experience and spy on you and sell it.
That's what they're not doing, definitely.
Yeah, damn right. Maybe in the far off future of 2013, but not in, today's Google, today's modern internet.
I'm on dial-up.
That might explain a thing or two. Right, I think this is definitely a sentiment here. It just says more.
That's good.
That's from the being known as the Writhing Horror.
Well, I mean, it's good to have fans of all different walks of life.
Yeah, clearly he's hungry for more. Sorry, I didn't mean to say he, I mean it.
The genderless mass.
It. The one. The being. I wonder if we could have him on the show. He sounds really good. Maybe that could be our first guest, the Writhing Horror. You know what? I'm going to write this down. Potential guests. Writhing Horror. Okay, right. Well, we're getting way ahead of ourselves right here. I have blocked him just because I did look at his profile and I lost about 3 weeks and a lot of blood came out of my face. So I don't recommend seeing any images of him, but maybe we could just get him in on a Skype call or something at some point. But I'm sorry, this is all admin. This is all behind the scenes stuff that the viewers aren't normally privy to.
Yeah, I mean, normally this would go on the Under the Table podcast, but we haven't made or really done anything towards that yet, so...
Or have we?
Well, no, we haven't.
No. Fuck it. Okay, final recrimination or sentiment here. Pick your poison, who knows? Some of these positive ones do come off as quite negative at times, so we'll see how this one goes. Despite my reservations, when I sat down and actually gave this podcast a chance, I found myself quite enjoying it. I recommend it to anyone looking for something a bit different, as long as you don't mind that it's a little rough around the edges. In fact, this podcast is fantastic. Genius, even. Everyone should be listening. Are you listening? Why not? I'll cut you. Lots of love, redacted.
I like that one.
I worry.
I'm glad that I am listening, because I don't really want to be cut.
That's true. I am listening as well. So this was actually a fairly positive week. Lots of avid fans, demanding more and saying nice things about us and totally not other people. I think we have found our niche. So I blocked them all immediately because we don't like niches here. I think we agreed. So next week we need to look for a new niche.
We are very transitionary when it comes to niches.
You could say we are transgressional.
No, I don't want to say that.
Okay, you could not say we're transgressional.
I would like to redact you saying both of those things, please.
Okay, you could redact that we are redactable.
Yeah, we'll do that.
That's how it works, right? You just say redacted.
I'm pretty sure that's what Nixon did.
Yeah, you sort of go back and just say redact.
And then no jail for you.
Right, let's continue with the recriminations and sentiments. Phil, your turn.
Well,
spin the barrel of the revolver of the recriminations and sentiments, and let's put a bullet in the brain of this podcast.
Well, I mean, this is very much a risk that I'm taking here because I genuinely can't tell whether these are recriminations or sentiments. They transition partway through, a lot of them.
Could you say they transgress?
No, never that.
Jesus. Okay.
Stop it.
Fine.
So the first one is quality irrelevant is the audio equivalent of the AIDS virus. By which I mean they're very resilient and will be going strong for over 30 years. So, I don't know. Might be positive, might not.
I have some things to say about that, but it might be considered very racist, so I'm actually going to keep it to myself.
Okay, that's probably just as well.
Yeah.
So the second one is a little bit more on the nose. It just says, I love quality irrelevant. On opposite day. So, it's clever comment there.
Oh, that guy really knows my sense of humour.
Yeah.
Block him.
I blocked him before he even left that comment. I don't know how he slipped through, honestly. Or she. Sorry, non-gender specific with our viewers.
We never actually came up with a non-gendered pronoun.
No, because that would be a nightmare. Next comment. Quality Irrelevant is my favourite podcast. However, my favourite movie is Now You See Me, and my favourite food is a generic beige protein paste, so I'm no judge of anything.
Again, that really does sound like our target audience right there. So, I guess we win?
I think we do. I am assuming that person is a sort of grey, genderless it might be the writhing terror again.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know.
Although it said my favourite food is generic beige protein paste, not the souls of the innocent.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're kind of the same thing. I'm pretty sure, if they're innocent, it means that there aren't that many taints on their soul. They haven't really done anything, which means they don't taste that good. They're sort of, quite bland, quite everyday, quite ordinary. They don't, have, the spice of a good assault charge or the subtle aroma of white slavery that really does sort of tarnish the soul in just that perfect sort of marbling you get on there. It's very distinct.
Like when you seal a really nice piece of steak. That's what the horrible taint of the criminal classes does to a soul. As far as I am aware.
Well, we really use the phrase criminal classes.
Not saying that's any specific class. It could be the upper class.
It could be the 1%ers.
With all of their banks and fraud and offshore investments.
It seems a bit unfair that they own the banks and get to do the fraud.
Yeah, leave something for the rest of us. Jeez.
Yeah, at least let us do all the fraud. And get away with it, please. Thanks.
Yeah, we don't want to be arrested for fraud. Just want to do fraud and then go skipping through a meadow.
And may I say, a fraudster has quite a distinct flavour of mint.
Yeah.
Their soul, I mean, don't just bite into their leg.
Well, there'd probably be some sort of riot or something where
It'll be okay.
just accidental cannibalism will happen.
I guess there is that sort of wonder, like, oh, what if there was a riot for something? What could I do? What could I get away with? You know, obviously I don't want to cause any harm, but what if I could just get away with it and no one knew?
What, just eating someone?
Well, not a whole person.
Just having a nibble.
Yeah, just like, you know, maybe there's a protest because Theresa May brings in a tax. The taxes for charging you tax. So the tax comes in, it only applies to 99%. And there's a bit of a polite British protest about it that turns a bit whoopsie-daisy. Maybe like some tear gas gets thrown at a disabled person and it like cracks them in the head and kills them. And then the criminal classes rise up. You're sort of there in the crowd and you think, what if, you know, and you just reach over and find the leg of what looks to be a banker and just give it a little bit of a chew.
So you're in the midst of a class-based riot.
Yeah.
And you see your opportunity. It's a very spontaneous action. Like there's no premeditation of it at all. You just sort of leap forward and tear someone's windpipe out with your teeth.
I didn't say the windpipe, I meant the leg.
Well, I know you. You're never one to go for the obvious target.
That's true. I've never tasted windpipe beforehand.
No, I think it's crunchy, like unexpectedly crunchy.
Oh, really? I thought it would be kind of like biting into a tyre.
I imagine it more along the lines of when you get a really horrible gristly bit on like a pork chop. It being like that, but in the shape of a sausage.
And it would be a pork chop as well, you know, a cheaper meat.
Yeah, a gristle sausage. That is what the esophagus is to the human mouth.
I'm not so keen on this idea anymore.
Well, you don't have to eat anyone.
I suppose maybe if a riot did just suddenly erupt, and I might just help myself to like some comics or something. I mean, they're expensive these days. Jesus.
They are expensive. But is it not worth paying the money for the craft that goes into them?
Well, I meant like the Beano and the Dandy.
Oh, well, there's bullshit all goes into those. So, yeah, steal them. Steal the Beano and the Dandy.
Feel good about yourself now?
Yeah. Roll around in Dennis the Menace because you've stolen it and you feel invincible and you've just bitten the leg of a police officer.
He wasn't a banker. He was clearly in uniform.
Well, you just get carried away with these things. You know, you're just the adrenaline of the situation. You're already torn out a banker's esophagus with your teeth, and you've got armfuls of copies of the Beano. I don't know why you would steal loads of copies of the Beano, but you have. And then a policeman like aims a kick at your head, misses. You see his calf, his glistening calf, and you just go for it. You just bite into it.
Yeah, I don't like hair on my meat. Do you know what this week is called?
Was it production?
It is called production.
I remember things.
Now, I'm going to quickly say that I had two ideas for this, right? Well, Phil, I shall ask you this. What do we produce?
We personally, or the collective we?
We personally.
A podcast that is just nonsense. Also urine. I don't know if that's the kind of thing you were looking for, but
if we do ever do a quality irrelevant live, it would be brilliant if we just have on the poster quality irrelevant podcast, also urine,
as if it's like a special guest that is appearing. You've never seen this before on stage, urine.
Yeah, like either it's a special guest or it's just like in addition, almost like a free gift. Like, not only is there the great chat of the quality irrelevant team with their awesome guests and good-natured, inoffensive, mild-mannered banter that they are so well known for, we also get urine.
It's a draw for some people.
Yeah, you know, it's just like an extra.
I was thinking more that we just have a jar of urine on the stage and never reference it.
Now, that is a very interesting idea. The idea of putting something like on a shelf or on display and just not really acknowledging how horrible it is. Like a jar of piss.
Yeah, or a homunculus.
Exactly, because when I was thinking about producing things, I thought of products. And I'm actually going to make this a little bit short because throughout the entire run of this podcast, we've been proposing a lot of ideas, a lot of products going out the door here, a lot of big ideas, big ambitions. And we had a lot of that last week, but I was going to propose that Phil, have you ever heard of a second-hand food shop?
No, I have never heard of a second-hand food shop.
Of course not. And do you know why you've never heard of that?
Is it because they don't exist and you're going to propose that we create one?
Exactly. It is a niche, it is a market that has not yet been cornered or conquered or monopolised. This is fertile ground that we can reap.
I dislike niches. I thought we had covered that already.
Okay, then it is not a niche. It is very, very mainstream that doesn't exist yet.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, so second-hand food shop. I think that will go over very well. We could have like rows and rows of shelves and we'll sell used food.
Define used.
Well, I'm thinking in the same way that, you've got your eBays, right? You go on your eBays and they've got jackets and shoes and bags and computers and TVs and such.
And Thai brides.
Is that really?
I might have been on a different site.
I mean, there may be like some code words like, oh, I'm selling a beautiful bounty of Thai blossoms, able to do cooking and cleaning, starting bid, 20 grand.
It's not the most subtle, but I could conceivably see that happening.
It's like out in the open, but I mean, it's fine. It's all fine.
Everybody agrees that it's fine. It's just the suits up there in Washington just don't understand people's need for Thai brides, so they just put regulations on it that you can't say that there's a Thai bride for sale, but everybody knows.
It's like escort services. You know what happens there.
They're escorting your penis.
He said with devastating subtlety and taste.
Those are all of my middle names.
So as I was saying, like with your eBays and such, you got the stuff that people maybe once loved but no longer have any need for or never really needed. They got it and they're immediately passing it on. Or maybe, food that has not found the right owner yet, that was once consumed and very much enjoyed but is now not quite up to the standard it used to be. And we can sell that.
Oh, so like, say you have a jar of hummus in your fridge and you've been eating the hummus and you've been enjoying the hummus, but it's gone a bit past its sell by date. It's like starting to smell a bit funny and it's kind of got that weird oil that kind of just sitting on the top of it.
Yeah, it's like, is that fridge water or is that water that's come from the food? We don't know.
No, I don't think anybody knows. The boys in the lab have no idea.
I mean, I put that to them 3 weeks ago and I haven't heard anything since then, so...
So you have this sort of old hummus and you're kind of slightly loath to throw it away.
Still got another couple of days on the sell-by date, but it's been 5 since you opened it.
Yeah, and so it's just slightly questionable. Like, you're not sure about it. So you throw it out because you don't want to risk it. You don't want to have to call in sick from work because you've shit yourself because you've eaten old hummus. So you just throw it out. We then go and collect that hummus and we put it in our secondhand food shop.
Yeah.
And then someone else can walk around and go, oh, there's half a jar of oily hummus. I'm going to get that and eat it right up with some carrots.
Yeah, it'll be great. Maybe you'll have like a lettuce that was good when you bought it, but now it's got that sort of brown water at the bottom. It's still good. There's some green in it still. It's growing another one on it, so that's renewable, but you don't want it, but someone else might.
Or like if you have, say, a bag of spinach and the leaves at the bottom have just started to go a bit mushy and like almost liquefied, but the ones on the top are fine. So you just pop it in the second-hand shop.
Yeah, there's good spinach in there, but then there's just frozen lumpy green mass kind of thing on one corner, and you're like, I mean, it's probably fine. It's just, I can go and buy another bag. It's only like 90p. I don't really want this, but I feel bad if I just chucked it away. There are people starving in Africa, I'm told.
I have heard rumour of that as well.
Our parents instilled a guilt complex in us when we were young'uns, reminding us of the dead and the dying every single time we didn't really fancy eating something. So now we can't throw it away without feeling terrible. So instead, we can just rummage through our fridges and get all the bits we don't really want. And rather than just putting it in the bin, put it on the shelf, sell it for $5.
I think another thing that we could do in this shop is, you know how sometimes in like petrol stations, they have that bin of old DVDs and stuff. Like you would maybe get like a Time Cop in there.
Or your Mutant Ninjas from Space.
Yeah, just those like knockoff films, like the Revengers.
Or the Transmorphers.
But we have one for food that is like, it's pretty much gone off. But you can like rummage through, you could get maybe like 5 items for £1. It's all horrible stuff, and you have to kind of wade through a lot of slime and mold in order to get to anything even slightly edible, but it's so cheap.
Yeah, who could say no? Like, half a pack of Jaffa cakes. Now, they're not actually Jaffa cakes. They're your Tesco basic sort of knockoff brand. But, you know, half of them left.
Unfortunately, that half has been sort of infested by spiders.
Yeah, and someone has gone through and picked off all the Jaffa, so it's just the cake left.
But people will pay upwards of 3 pence for that.
3 doubloons.
3 doubloons.
What's the pence of doubloons? Doubloons sounds like quite a weighty, heavy coin.
Semi-doubloons.
Semi-doubloons? Or like chips? Something that sounds small and fractional, like buttons, or how about we just call them splitlings?
Splitlings. Yeah, 3 splitlings.
Yeah.
For your old Jaffa'd cake buns.
With no Jaffa.
With no Jaffa.
Ex-Jaffa cake buns.
Plus spider.
Free spider.
Yeah, that's protein right there. Do you know Jaffa cakes are, at least at one point, they were marketed as like a fitness product?
What? I thought you were going to tell me the whole thing about the cake and the biscuit fiasco tax problem. But no, whoa, what fitness?
Yeah, there was one point because they were like sort of a bit healthier than biscuits, I think, because they had some vague allusion to fruit in them, that they said like, oh, you can eat a Jaffa cake and then run a marathon. I don't think it was true.
They have about as much allusion to fruit as a packet of wine gums. Like, they look like fruit, but they're just, you know, it's a lie. I mean, it's just a colour and a flavouring. It's not really, yeah, that's really pushing your luck there. I thought maybe it was going to be like with Lucozade, like really, really high in sugar. Lucozade, fitness. And it's like, yeah, because it gives you energy, which you then need to burn off incredibly quickly because you've had like 500 calories or whatever in a single drink. I thought maybe it's like, stuff a whole box of Jaffa cakes down your throat and you'll have to run or you're going to die.
Yeah. And I'll be honest, I do exercise from time to time. I also eat Jaffa cakes from time to time. There has never been a single occasion where I have eaten just one Jaffa cake. If there are Jaffa cakes available, I am eating probably a whole box of them. And then a whole box of Jaffa cakes plus exercise equals stomach pump, I think.
I am just sort of imagining you now spraying cakey, chocolatey Jaffa out of your nose at paramedics.
I mean, that happens so many Wednesday nights in a row. You kind of just get used to it.
But the way you cut down on this is you just peel off the Jaffa and then chuck them straight in the used food shop.
Yeah.
Problem solved. Now you don't get the cakey mess all over the EMTs.
No, you just get the definitely fruit bit of it. It's definitely fruit.
Yeah, it's just like a slice of orange.
Yeah, it's definitely not like a small glob of sugar.
No, it's a slice of fruit in there. Defos, mate.
That's what it says on the ingredients on the box of Jaffa cakes, I think.
Yeah, well, I scrolled that on there in biro. Oh, yeah, by the way, did I mention we run this shop? Like, we are the shopkeepers.
I'd kind of assumed that.
We can just be sat behind the counter reading a newspaper, and then people come in and they are too polite to turn anything down because we've positioned the counter right near the door. You know, when you go into a shop and you're just kind of browsing, not really intending to buy much, but then you realize they positioned the checkout right by the door, and the checkout person is attempting to make eye contact with you if you get too close.
Yeah.
So you're in that position where, okay, I'm still not going to buy anything, but now I have to sort of pretend tend to be on the phone when I leave, or like I've forgotten something, or there's somewhere I need to be, rather than just, everything you have in here is too expensive and I have no money, so I want to leave now and not buy anything. I just wanted to look at the nice things for a minute.
The worst one is I genuinely just came in here to waste time.
There is nothing in here that interests me. I just have nothing better to do, and it's warm in here.
Or like if you go into department store or something and the only reason you go in is to go to the toilet.
Oh yeah, classic.
So there are department stores in this country that I have never bought anything from, but I have deposited a ridiculous, an inordinate amount of my own personal waste.
Yeah. Secondhand food.
Oh, sorry, secondhand food. Circling back to the idea that you've had, this secondhand food shop.
Yeah.
Can I propose a secondary income stream for this shop?
Okay.
So you're using secondhand food. Good. I say we take it a step further.
Third-hand food.
No, have a section in the shop for antique food.
Ooh, now that's a good idea.
Like really old food.
Yeah, like a ham, like a honey-glazed ham that was made in the 70s.
Or like those tins that you get that have been around since the war.
Yeah, and they just say like potatoes on them.
Yeah, or like they have biscuits in them for some reason.
Biscuits in water.
Yeah. The old wartime delicacy.
Yeah.
And so we have like shelves and shelves of this stuff, and I hesitate to use the word overpriced.
Antique priced.
Antique priced. You always pay more for something if it's antique or vintage. We could use vintage branding.
Yeah.
Vintage food.
Artisanal food. Wait, no, that means handmade, and it's going to be just a tin of biscuits in brine. Yeah, it's probably not going to go down too well. No, I think we go with vintage. I went into one of these vintage sweet shops the other day, right? And I'm going to circle back round to this and all later on in the podcast, but a vintage sweet shop. It was, you go in there and they have like the big jars, like huge jars. Like you could climb inside and like a child assaulter could like twist the top and seal it and you die in there. Like, you know, those big jars that can fit a toddler in, right?
That's why a lot of them got closed down, I think, because of child assaulters.
Damn right.
It was just too easy for a child assaulter to just run into a sweet shop and just twist all the tops on all of the jars that had children who just crawled in to have a bonbon. Children asphyxiating in the sweet jars. It was just bad for business. They sort of became sugar-entombed homunculi. That's the second time I've referenced homunculi in this episode.
As a side note, I also realised as a kid, like when my parents would say stuff like, oh, don't trust the strangers when they give you the sweets and all that stuff, and don't talk to weird looking people or especially men in long brown coats who look like they're not wearing much. I understood the concept of being kidnapped because we all saw the Chitty Chitty Banged Bang with the child catcher in it. Is it Catcher or Snatcher?
You saw a different movie, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. It wasn't Banged Bang.
Well, I did find it behind the little red curtain at the video store.
Oh, the little red curtain at the video store.
We are going off on so many tangents here. But this is a bit of a sad revelation to me now. I had it very much in my head as a kid, like, oh, I'll probably be fine. But there is a potential danger of like, oh, you hear of a kid who gets like kidnapped and they're never seen again or whatever. But I just assumed that some adults would do this as like, oh, they're bad, awful people, but they just take kids. Like, they just either hate kids, or they collect them, or they just, like, kill them for some reason. They just really dislike kids. Now I realise there is no such thing as a child assaulter. There's no such thing. What they're gonna do is fuck the kid, and then they have to kill it, because it's gonna tell people.
Yeah.
So the idea of someone just asphyxiating you as a kid, and it purely being a non-sexual thing, is not a real thing, which is terrifying to a child.
So nobody kills children just for the sake of killing a child.
Not that I'm aware of.
I think the crystallizing difference that you can take away is nobody has ever paid someone to assassinate a child.
Unless they're a real dick.
Yeah, or unless the child is like the heir to the throne of Norway, and you are second in line.
Like, that's Machiavellian schemes and stuff. That is the Game of Thrones you are talking about. That's classy, that's fine. There's nothing classy about suffocating a toddler in a jar of bonbons.
I've always said that.
And even then, that's more classy than the real reason why you do it. And yeah, that never occurred to me as a kid, and that is a terrifying idea to me now. The child in me is not comfortable with the idea that a grown man would get some sexual thrill about anything to do with me. Like, why am I there? Why am I involved? This isn't right. So I'm sort of glad I wasn't aware of that as a kid, but yeah, it really does destroy my envisioning of what the child catcher or potentially snatcher was doing with those kids.
How have we got from secondhand food shop to paedophile murderer?
Yet again. Yeah, that's weird. Bring it back, bring it back. Vintage sweet shops. Okay, I went into one. I was expecting the big the big jars where you could suffocate a toddler in them. But instead, do you know what they had in this vintaged sweet shop that I went into not that long ago?
Did they have Chuppa Chup lollies?
Yes, and neon nerds and wham bars and sherbet fountains. Just normal fucking sweets, but at like 5 times the price.
Well, are those now vintage sweets? To us, are there like new cool sweets that we don't know about that all the kids are into? They're called like poppers or something. That might be something different. That might be going back to the paedophile murderer thing.
Phil, we're dancing around a topic that I really wanted to talk about in between now in your film pitch. We may have hit upon the fact that kids nowadays may actually be a lot healthier than we were back in the day. There probably aren't that many new cool sweets. It's just, you have your standard sort of like your chocolates, and you have the very, very cheap sweets that anyone can produce and is never going away, like your strawberry bootlaces and that kind of stuff. But you're right, in terms of the iconic cool sweets, there probably aren't that many that are coming out now because of sugar consciousness, and parents now are kind of aware of what these things do to their kids or how unhealthy it is. We may be the last generation to have these kinds of sweets, but it is still bullshit that that's what you get in a vintage sweet store.
So would it be too much of a leap to say that wham bars were the last new sweet that there has ever been or ever will be?
Potentially.
And now all the kids are just eating fucking celery.
Yeah, that's it. Just celery with a bit of like wheat paste as like a sort of a glaze. You know how various like cereals and stuff, they get broken down into sugars? Well, that's what is on the sweets now. It's like, oh, this will be sugar in about like 2 hours in your blood. But for now, it's just like some basically flour.
It is some kind of glucogen or something.
It's basically just like eating PVA glue.
Well, kids do that anyway. It's just healthy to get them to dip celery in it.
If they're gonna eat the glue, I mean, we might as well.
The delivery method of the glue might as well be celery.
Yeah, okay, so fuck the paedophile murderers, fuck the vintage sweet shops, back to the used food shop, vintage foods. I like this idea. I think it's got potential. I think we can get away with it. We must be protected under some kind of antique laws there. Or maybe we just put for novelty use only, or for collectible purposes only, collections. You're not actually meant to open this packet of digestives that has been around since the 1920s and eat them.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of expected that our customers will eat them, but obviously we can't really say that eating them is fine. We have to say, no, just for display purposes only.
Display purposes only. The best 4 words that marketing has ever come up with ever.
Yeah, it gets anybody out of anything.
And I suppose there will be some products on there which are in tins that are actually made of tin and lined with lead, and so possibly not the best thing to consume, you know, your tinned apricots in brine or whatever.
Yeah, and your pickles in barium. I don't know what they ate back then. So, this is my film pitch. I'm going to say now, I think it might be nonsense because I wrote this when I had a lot of coffee in me. I haven't read it back since. thoughts?
Considering we have the issue of 2 very long film pitches, and this is probably going to bleed over into 2 podcasts, I think you should take as much time as you like, which means I may jump in if the moment takes me, but I will let you dictate the course of this, as it is your bag, so to speak.
Just to let you know, my film pitch is a little bit different to how yours usually are, in that you usually describe in painstaking detail a single scene in the film and kind of take that as a microcosm of the film as a whole.
Pretty much, yeah.
I have gone on a more macro level. It is less in depth, but it covers the whole film.
Wow. Is there an actual arc from beginning to the middle to the end?
Arc might be a generous term.
Series of events?
Yeah, one of those. So, I'll do the title at the end, because I don't want to tell you what the title is right now.
I expect to be blown away.
Okay, here we go. The film opens with 4 unique individuals, each receiving a different tarot card guiding them to find each other. They are Patrick Fabian, an unbearably arrogant but strangely talented natural leader. Stanley the Tooch. Tucci, a louche but unbearably arrogant second in command who is unfortunately down on his luck. Melissa Joan Hart, a sexy and unbearably arrogant token female member of the team. And John Delancey, the youngest of the group and an unbearably arrogant hothead. Together, they are the 4 unconscionably smug horsemen, a troop of illusionists who definitely just do illusions that are completely plausible and not actual magic. Shut up, we never said they do proper magic. They are also the absolute worst people to spend 115 excruciating minutes of your life with, but what else do you expect when you go and see this sort of thing? So the 4 unconscionably smug horsemen, or I just abbreviated it to FUSH, as we shall call them from now on, they go on a worldwide magic tour doing totally plausible illusions, like teleporting a man from Las Vegas to a bank vault in Paris and teleporting millions of euros from the bank vault in Paris back to Las Vegas, while leaving the man there to either die of asphyxiation or get arrested by the French police, making a lady fly in a big massive bubble, and jumping off a building and turning into money, which is completely plausible and not in defiance of everything we know about biology and physics, because it's an illusion and illusions don't have to have any kind of logical conceit behind them. So after one such instance of turning into money, which I think is just how they travel around now, they are arrested in connection with a robbery by FBI agent Bulk and Skull. I'll point out now, I think I might have made Bulk and Skull one person.
Is he like sort of split down the middle, like really fat on one side and really skinny on the other and just screaming, I should not be?
No, I think they're both there, but they just act as one person.
So they like have one job.
Yeah.
They only get one revenue stream.
Yeah, but like all of their actions as they do things are exactly the same.
Do they stand next to each other, or do you just switch them out from shot to shot?
No, they're both in shot whenever the character is in shot. One stands sort of diagonally downwind of the other one.
So it's sort of like slightly in the background, almost like a shadow.
Yeah, I mean, that is a very conscious filmmaking choice, because it is better for framing and aperture and words.
So it's almost like there is just a mime of the other one just in the background at all times.
Almost, yeah, it's pretty much like that.
Cool, okay, and then again, do they alternate, or is it like always Skull?
Undecided. We need to do some screen tests and things like that.
And just so you know, when it comes to making this film, I'm pretty sure we only need to give them one paycheck if they're both portraying the same character. So this is some smart accounting right there.
I think that's how it works. Like, I think in that X-Men film, James McAvoy and Patrick Stewart had to like split a paycheck.
I'm almost certain that is how it worked, yeah.
Yeah, so Bulk and Skull, one person. I think I get my pronouns a bit mixed up here and there, but just go with it. So they're arrested in connection with a robbery by FBI agent Bulk and Skull, who are kind of useless and keep getting made fools of by the FUSH. I've put in brackets some examples of them being made fools of. So they get their trousers pulled down, and then the magicians disappear through a plug socket, which is definitely an illusion that they've had zero time and resources to prepare.
Wait. When the trousers get pulled down,
yeah,
is there a pair of very large boxers that are white, but they have like those red hearts on?
No, full frontal dick shot.
Wow, okay, this is going to be a PG film, I take it.
Yeah, I mean, you have to go for the PG rating to be like honest to the characters. So some other examples of things that happen to them. They bite into a sandwich only to find out there is a full-grown live grizzly bear inside it.
Oh shit, that is a popular trick I hear on the magician circuit.
They like click their fingers and like the ham turns into a bear. It can happen. I've seen it done. And the final example, they go home to their wife and find out that instead of a living human person, she has been a carefully arranged stack of prostitute calling cards ever since their second date. I don't know what that was. I think I was going along with the theme of people turning into money.
Yeah.
And they've done a horrible trick on these people that their wife is just a pile of prostitute calling cards.
That's a reference to a film. I think it's what's that heist film? Toy Story 3, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I knew it.
So now their patience has been tested and the Fush keep doing weird robberies and totally plausible illusions like pulling a child's heart out of its chest, but it's not actually the still beating heart of a child. It's actually the Smithsonian Museum's prize diamond, which isn't proper magic, it's just a very plausible illusion. FBI agent Bulk-and-Skull turned to famed discreditor of magicians, James Spader wearing a fedora, which I think I've put, that is just his name. James Spader wearing a fedora.
That's the character's name in full.
Yeah, and it is also James Spader wearing a fedora. Like, it's accurate at the very least.
Can we call him J-Swaff?
Okay, we'll call him J-Swaff.
Yeah.
I mean, he turns up, like, I mentioned his name one more time and then he's just not in it anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, so FBI agent Bulk-and-Skull turned to famed discreditor of magicians J-Swaff to smash them up with a shovel or something. Like, he's not really there to discredit them, they just hire him to smash the magicians up with a shovel. Then J-Swaff not J-Swaff wearing a fedora.
That's too many wearing a fedoras.
J-Swaff agrees and gets his trusty magician smashing shovel out of the closet before tripping over a magic hat he left on the floor earlier and turning into a swarm of bees, which is definitely just an illusion. So he's also a bit magic.
Yeah, how did he turn into the bees?
We don't explain it. But we don't explain anything in this fucking movie.
Oh.
So eventually it turns out that FBI agent Bulk-and-Skull is also an illusionist who got all sad after his dad drowned in a tank full of jam and has been helping the Fush ever since day one, which is a brilliant twist, provided you don't know anything about story or filmmaking and don't look at the film with too much thought or logic or intelligence. Then they all go in a magic roundabout somehow, which is probably just a very convincing illusion and not real magic, and then the sequel happens because we desperately need more money and for some reason people think this film is good. And then that's pretty much the end. I've just done a working title for it.
Okay, let me guess. Ocean's 15?
Close. The working title is Now You See My Brilliant Illusion, which is definitely just an illusion and not real magic because real magic is totally unrealistic and illusions which simply blur the line between realism and mysticism like a bunch of people turning into cash money are fine, shut up.
I'll tell you my favourite part.
Yeah.
I liked the overtly sexual humiliation of Bulk-and-Skull because that I don't think we've seen enough of. It
was sort of Guantanamo Bay style humiliation tactics.
Yeah.
Which I think need to get more coverage in mainstream cinema.
Phil.
Yeah?
I have something to confess to you.
What do you have to confess?
That is pretty much my entire film pitch you just did.
Oh, we duplicated efforts.
I think it was a bit of a foregone conclusion, considering our conversation last week. I do quite like your approach to the whole thing, where you are attempting to sort of deconstruct the very notion of the film that you are lampooning. Oh, and for those that are not initiated, we should just confess that the film that you are making fun of is The Prestige.
Yeah.
A lot of plot holes in that film. Also, it's got this very kind of meandering plot that doesn't really go anywhere. And there are many characters and sequences and scenes that kind of have no relevance to the overarching events. And yeah, was it that you said at the end, like the whole thing was basically just a load of conceited trash or something like that?
Yeah, something like that. I don't really remember any of the words that I just said.
So take that, Christopher Nolan.
Yeah, up your dick.
I really don't have anything to add.
Were there any major differences between mine and yours that you'd like to bring up?
I will note that whilst I think that yours is a far more succinct and cutting derision of the source material, mine will probably make you want to quit this podcast yet again.
That's pretty much a weekly occurrence at this stage anyway.
I did quite enjoy your observation at the beginning about how you've gone for a complete film pitch, which you did successfully do here.
Well, I mean, you say that. It did contain the phrase, eventually it turns out, which is a notorious shortcut for the film pitch writer. Eventually, it turns out that they're all dead.
After a series of events, I am quite impressed you managed to summarize the film, because after your deriding comments last week, I thought, right, I've got to check out this fucking film. It isn't worth it. Don't watch the film. It is seriously, my God.
Yeah.
The first 20 minutes are really annoying, but you can sort of see what they're trying to do. And then the rest of it is just like nothing.
Yeah.
Like just nothing. It's just a series of events that are barely connected. You're not even really sure who you're meant to be identifying with from scene to scene. And then it turns out the entire thing is pointless. So from that, and yeah, like you, because I felt kind of a raw energy inside you, like a kind of a hatred that you needed to channel. You needed to kind of express the gaping asshole-like flaws there are in this piece.
Yeah, I feel like I have done that successfully for now. Perhaps next week I will come into the podcast arena in a much calmer state, more zen. There may be times in coming weeks where I'm reminded of the garbage trash that is this movie, and I will get angry again. I wake up in the middle of the night angry at this movie sometimes.
I don't really understand what the film is attempting to do, what it is trying to say. There does seem to be a sort of like we've got to mock authority and institutions, put the middle finger up at the FBI agents, Bulk and Skull. Sorry, agent singular. As a sort of like, you don't wear underwear and your wife is actually a load of hooker calling cards in disguise somehow.
Somehow she's been moving around and like cooking him dinner for when he gets in, but she is just a stack of prostitute cards.
Well, you know, that's the trick.
You know, sometimes when you look back at something that you've done and you appreciate something that your past self has put in, I appreciated the fact that I referred to it as a carefully arranged stack of prostitute calling cards. There's no slapdash anything in this situation. They're very carefully arranged to look like a living human woman.
I'm pretty sure that if you put enough care into something, then it is fine. It all comes out as it's meant to be. Phil?
Yes.
Would you be willing to hear my film pitch now? Because I'm starting to suspect you will have no patience for this next week.
Yeah, I am in a state now. I'm calm. I'm more relaxed than I ever have been before after venting my frustration at this movie. So I think I'm probably in the best place that I will be for the foreseeable future to listen to whatever you have spewed out of your mouth.
Okay. What I'm going to give you, though, I'm going to give you an ace up your sleeve, because I think your original critique was somewhat apt in that you've attempted to paint a picture of an entire piece, of an entire work. I really do get bogged down in the details of individual scenes and basically have like a couple of ideas and try to force that into like a 3-hour long kind of epic. So I'm going to give you an ace up your sleeve. If you get, how to put this lightly, completely fucking sick of this, I'll give you the opportunity to veto it, and I'll come back next week with a complete revision that doesn't resemble yours.
Okay, that sounds entirely fair.
Okay, so Phil, I have to admit, I may have been inspired by your comments from last week, so there may be some thinly veiled sort of similarities between your film pitch and mine, but I wouldn't read too much into it, okay?
Okay.
Especially some bits that may seem absolutely identical, especially in terms of the naming and positioning of certain actors and certain roles. So, like you, I thought, right, let's make an action comedy fast heist magician extravaganza film, all right?
It's never been done before.
And like you, I wanted the audiences to show up and be like, wow, we came here for some family-friendly comedy and great heist magic action and the acting abilities of the golden god Patrick Fabian himself.
Yeah.
And in addition to that, we got the most complex and intriguing film ever made. So, the film begins, panning slowly over piles of money. And I mean, we're talking like fat stacks, big fat wads of cash.
Is that fat with a PH?
Fat,
Yeah.
Fat stacks is how they say it.
Good.
And over this, we hear Patrick Fabian's narration. Are you watching closely? Well, you better, you son of a bitch. Hard cut to black.
Okay.
We see Sean Pertwee showing a young girl a bunny rabbit, and he's all like, every magic trick consists of 3 parts. There's the first bit, the middle bit and the last fucking bit. And Sean Pertwee drops a bunny into the hat, taps the hat with a magic wand, and then shows the inside of the hat to the girl. The bunny has disappeared. And then Sean Pertwee punches through the hat, smacking the girl in the face. She flies back and smashes into the camera, and the title screen hits. Now you see me, again, too harder.
Can I make one small request at this stage?
Okay.
Can the title show up on screen in like a splatter of small girl blood?
That may be a little bit on the nose. Could we just make it that her blood is blue?
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
So it's blue, so we don't feel bad for her, because she was lovely. She was a real darling. Great actor on set as well.
Yeah, real professional.
Yeah. She really knows how to take a punch. Oh my God.
Jesus Christ. This has gone badly already.
Anyway, yes, that's right. The magicians are at it again. And who's going to stop them? That's right, Patrick Fabian. Patrick Fabian plays an FBI agent hot on the heels of the world's most notorious magicians. I'm a federal agent hot on the heels of the world's most famed magicians. He says directly to the camera. I'm not going to let them get away with being magic. I don't fucking think so. I'm not secretly a magician. Okay, whoa. Right, so we're in for a wild ride here.
I like this. There seems to be some subtext going on.
No, I don't know what you're talking about. So, the magicians are running around causing all sorts of trouble and hijinks. We're going to have all of them, all the different types, up to no good. What is it you called them? Incredibly arrogant.
The 4 unconscionably smug horsemen.
Yeah, they really are horrible, terrible people.
Yeah.
And that is why I've chosen the first one, the street magician, and he is played by Gerard Butler. So he's on the streets of New York with a huge crowd all around him, and they're all cheering and like trying to touch his face. And he's in like a sharp black suit, and he's got shitty pubescent facial hair. And he's all like, I'm gonna do a magic trick right now. Stand back. No, wait, come back. And he grabs like a deck of cards from down the front of his trousers. Look closely. Remember, the closer you look, the sharp. And then he kicks the entire deck of cards out of his hands right into the faces of the crowd. I mean, like really hard, like too hard, if I'm honest. And they all clap. They just fucking love it like that.
Like
they clap.
They clap through their very paper cut faces.
Oh yeah, and I mean, you saw the film like I did. I mean, those cards, I mean, they like could decapitate a head, I'm pretty sure.
I feel like they do at one point.
Yeah, like he throws a card and it like just cuts a baby's head off.
It just cuts the roof off a car.
It's like made of adamantium with a bit of vibranium on there. So that's a Marvel reference right there. I don't know why that's a thing. Anyway, okay, so right, next up we've got the escapist, the escaper. The, like, Houdini one.
Escapologist.
That's it.
I think Houdini one is fine.
Yeah, we got the Houdini one, and it's a woman, and it's played by Melissa Joan Hart. So she's in a glittery little skimpy sort of bunny girl outfit thing, and she's just in, like, a warehouse somewhere with a camera crew, and again, there's a cheering crowd, and they're all gathered around like a large tank, and it's full of piranhas. And she's all like, right, I'm gonna bloody escape from this stupid tank full of piranhas, ain't I? And she gets, like, tied up, and 2 burly men just toss her in the tank, and then she just gets, like, devoured.
Oh.
And so, right, that's her. She's done.
She's just not in the movie anymore.
No.
Oh, okay. Oh, is this an illusion? Is it an illusion that she got eaten by piranhas?
It's a magic trick.
Oh, okay.
So...
Well, that's fine. As long as it's a magic trick, it's completely plausible. It's not proper magic.
We may have to get Julia Louis-Dreyfus in just wearing the skin of Melissa Joan Hart.
That's fine. We could do that.
That or just wheel around like a tank of bloody water and just say it's Melissa Joan Hart from now on. Maybe we'll just do that. Maybe we'll just, like, later on in the film, when we're all together, it'll just be this tank of bloody water.
This tank of human chum.
Yeah, with the piranhas still in there.
Definitely Melissa Joan Hart.
Anyway, so that's fine. And then there's the hypno bloke, the hypnotist. And yep, you guessed it, it's only... fucking Bill Pullman, right? So he's just at the local bus station harassing the fellow passengers. And there's like a middle-aged married couple, and he's looming over them, being like, oh, you there, I can read your mind so I can, and make you all do all sorts. So give me all your fucking money, or I'll tell your wife you're a gay. And they're like, oh God, please don't hurt us. Please take the money and leave, please. Thank you kindly. Oh, and one more thing. Your wife there is actually just 2 young kids in a long dress. Boy! And the man leaves, and the man's wife is now just 2 children. So that's it. That's the gang of magicians. That's all of them. They're all there. The trio of magicians, and there's no one else.
I mean, I saw some similarities to something I did.
Was it Melissa Joan Hart getting her skin ripped off by piranhas?
That and the wife not actually being a wife.
That was amazing, wasn't it? Because I really genuinely wrote this today. But yeah, I should have said she was actually like a carefully stacked pile of hooker adverts, which you don't really get outside of Vegas, but still.
Well, they do a lot of stuff in Vegas, so...
we don't ever go to Vegas in this film.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, you say this film, you mean like the first 2 scenes of this film?
Yeah, this is really laboured. Oh, wait, and I forgot about James Franco. He's also there. He's just like on a street corner somewhere during the day, just biting the heads off of doves and drinking their blood.
Oh, so is he like a geek, the traditional sense of like a circus freak?
That's just what he does.
Oh.
It's like a hobby. He's just there doing that. Like it's James Franco. What else has he got to do? Anyway, so all get rounded up by a mysterious benefactor, and they come together to form an evil band of marauding magicians, stealing all the money to the adoration of the public. Because showmanship, which means you can get away with whatever the fuck you like.
I mean, I don't think you have to clarify them as specifically evil magicians, because as we know, all magicians are evil, and they are responsible for most car crime.
Well, that may come up. In that fucking film they are, Jesus Christ. Okay, and then the title pops up again. Now you see me again, Too Harder. And we're like an hour in at this point. Right. So, everything kicks off at the big magic show in Vegas.
You said we didn't go to Vegas.
No, I didn't. So they're all there. Bill Pullman, James Franco, Gerard Butler, Mr. Joan Hart, / Julia Louis-Dreyfus, / the big tank of bloody water. And they're just walking around on a huge stage with lights and music, and the camera is spinning, and it's all very highly produced. It looks great. And this is the film. Like, the whole thing takes place during the magic show. Because you know that thing you said, well, I don't really get past the first 15 minutes of my pitch? I thought, I'll just make the first 15 minutes the entire film.
Well, that's smart. You've essentially created a short film, which I think might be your forte.
As I say, there may be some similarities between this film. What was it? Now You See Me, I think? I don't know about that. But anyway, this is a sequel, so it's a completely different film. Right, so they're all on stage, and like they're doing all their tricks on the stage, and the crowd's just, fucking magic, yeah, good. And Gerard Butler and Melissa Joan Hart just like grab hold of a rabbit, and they just like grab its legs and just like pull it apart. And then like Bill Pullman will be there, and he's just like berating and humiliating people as he's like, just shoving them up onto the stage, and they try and get away, and he just like waggles his fingers at them, and then they pass out, and you see them like drop, and their heads hit the stage floor with a crack. And then like James Franco is there as well, and he's just like striking matches and throwing them on the ground. So it'll just be an amazing show, and totally not a massive letdown, because we know it's all complete stage and on film, so it's not even impressive as nothing is even being performed live here. So it'll be great. The audience will fucking love this. The audience in the film will love it. The audience in the theatre will love it. Okay, it's gonna be a great film. But Patrick Fabian, right? You might have said, this is a vehicle for him. What's he up to? So we can see Patrick Fabian running around in the crowd, like trying to throw the whole show. Like he's cutting ropes that are holding up the rigging for the lights, and they sort of like fall down and kill an audience member. And he's like, let's see the magic out of this. Like he'll try and get in on one of Bill Pullman's hypnotizing acts wearing a moustache, but Bill Pullman like spots him and pulls down his trousers, revealing a big white boxer shorts with little red hearts on them. And that makes the front page of the newspaper the next day, and everyone laughs. So we've got that kind of mocking authority thing that you had in your film.
There is a shared theme of ritual humiliation in our film pitches.
I would like to just point out that comes from the film itself, because Woody Harrelson just voices people's fetishes as if it's something to be ashamed of, but to shame them. It's like, oh, this guy likes dressing up as a woman. What a cunt.
Yeah.
What? You're such a dick.
So, as well as being terrible, the movie is also transphobic.
Anyway, there'll be loads of like funny bits, like loads of like magic quips and such. Like Gerard Butler will walk across the stage and say like, and now our next trick, and like he'll pause and keep walking across the stage for like 10 paces before the camera stops and spins around and then tracks Bill Pullman, who's also striding about the place, and he'll say, "Will be magic." So that's good. And they'll start clapping themselves, and Melissa Joan Hart shouts, "Oh, I'm excited!" Yeah. And the crowd will be going mental at this point, and Bill Pullman will go in for like a really awkward high five with James Franco, but misses because James Franco is just like asleep on the stage, face down snoring.
It's good. I think what you're capturing here is a real sense of camaraderie.
Damn right, just like they had in the film.
Also, your pacing is impeccable, I think.
Yeah, it's great.
With just these long, awkward pauses as people are just really bad at timing their onstage patter.
The gaps between when they awkwardly try and finish each other's sentences, I mean, you could drive a fucking truck through it. And again, I'm taking inspiration from the original text here. That's not me being funny. Anyway, this film is great, and this is what everyone in the audience watching this film will say. Because I imagine the audience in the cinema at this point will be cheering along with the film crowd. And it's even better because this entire time, I haven't mentioned this, but this entire time, this sort of awesome, like, upbeat, slick bass line has been playing, like, bom 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 bom, like constantly, like for like an hour and 20 we're in at this point.
Over and over again, like the seventh circle of hell.
Yeah, and they're constantly, like, all the actors in the film are doing this awkward, like, jiggly dance thing where they're, like, rotating their lower arms like windmills. Fuck.
As if this movie couldn't get any better, you've made the addition of dad dancing.
And there's like, they got the slight sway of the head and the shake of the waist. And they're mostly in time, at least, except every now and then they go out and sing for a bit. Oh god. Okay, but what it's meant to do is make us think they're all like really confident and composed and cool
and smug, and really smug and arrogant.
Exactly. Or what was it, thrush? You said? I think they've got thrush.
It's fush. For unconscionably smug horsemen.
Exactly. And like at one point, and this bit is great, I mean, it's really good, when Bill Pullman sexually harasses Melissa Joan Hart on stage, because he's like, "I heard you like magic. Well, why don't you bend over and fuck off?" And they all clap, and it's brilliant, and everyone loves it.
And as he's saying it, he just sort of dunks his hand in the piranha water.
Yeah, like gets like an eyeball out, and then just like swishes it once around his mouth, and then flicks it, and it bounces off the stage with a splat. And everyone's like, "Oh, this is just so great. She's totally not objectified." Anyway, at one point they just grab a mother and baby out of the crowd and shove them on stage, and then James Franco like snatches the baby and like waves his hands and it just disappears, and the mother is all like, "Oh my god, how do you do that?" And Gerard Butler is all like, "He could tell you," and the music stops. "But he'd have to kill ya!" And then the music kicks back in again. Bom, 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 bom. So, right, that goes for like 3 hours in both movie time and real.
Just a quick question about the baby.
Yeah.
At any point, does it end up in a big jar?
I'm just going to make some quick addendums to the script. Big jar of bonbons.
The baby disappears and she's like, "Oh my god, how did you do that?" And then like a big jar full of bonbons rises out of the middle of the stage. But there's no contraption to speak of there. There's no lift or trapdoor or anything. It literally just phases through the stage like Shadow Cat. And then it's just there, and there's a baby in a jar with some bonbons, and the baby's just dead.
Yeah, and everyone claps.
Yeah, obviously everyone claps. It's a brilliant trick.
Although I like to think that the baby like hasn't died from just like, oh, it's a baby and it's not been taken care of because it's been put in a jar of bonbons. No, it's like tried to eat the bonbons and then had like an overdose. So it has like really like bulging like red eyes, and it's like asphyxiated with its head turned halfway round, and it's like been sick, and it's on its head is like purple where it's been like shaking. So it's like a really like horrific.
It's just a grotesque like malformation within this bonbon jar.
Yeah, so that's all great, that's all fine, and until the final trick comes, because By the way, you may have noticed that Patrick Fabian hasn't really been doing anything.
Has he just been in the audience?
He's been in the audience the entire time.
Has he also been cheering?
Well, he sort of gets into it a little bit and does like a little dance, and then he like shakes his head like, "What? No, the spell. I can't. I'm not. No.
Oh my god, it's so catchy."
And you might even say he hasn't had any real effect on the plot so far, but don't worry about it. The twist will reveal it all. I never said there was a twist. But that doesn't mean he hasn't had anything to do up to this point. Like, he's been climbing all over the place, like messing with the wiring. He hit a woman at one point, and he once successfully managed to trip up Gerard Butler, but no one noticed because the others they were all eating like a Cadillac on stage or something. Oh, and he is able to burn James Franco to death at one point when no one is looking, but that has little to no effect on the magic show or really the narrative as a whole. So that happens, and that's fine. Anyway, so before the final act, okay, right, you remember Sean Pertwee? He was at the beginning.
Hello.
Yeah, exactly. They bring him on the stage. He is a wealthy benefactor. He's like, oh, I'm very wealthy again. Don't ask why or how. I gave these magicians loads of bloody money for some fucking reason or other. Yes, you did, Mr. Fuckman. Thanks for that. Oh, that's right. Hang on a sec. You dropped this doubloon. And Melissa Joan Hart picks up a coin off the stage dropped by Sean Pertwee. Oh, thank you, my love. I'll just have that. I'm very wealthy. I don't think so. And like, I don't know whose voice that was. It doesn't really matter. It gets confusing because they're all like finishing each other's sentences and stuff, so it's all disorientating.
And maybe an illusion could be that they are all actually each other.
Yeah, well, we'll get to that.
Oh, okay.
And then she chucks the coin into the audience where it lands, and all the audience members, they all like punch and bite each other to try and get it. Sean Pertwee is all like, what are you bloody doing? And they're all like, ha 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 ha. You thought, I don't know who's saying this is, they like speak with a unit. James Franco, he can like rise from the grave at this point, and he can be all like, ha ha ha. You thought we were doing magic show to make you the money or something, but this has all been one elaborate scheme. And at that point, Patrick Fabian just runs on stage like 50 cops, and he's like, right, I've had enough of this. I'm really gonna do something about this time. And then James Franco is all like, but wait, you haven't seen the trick of it. Right, come on, fellow magicians, magic this. And a big hairdryer comes out from beneath where Sean Pertwee is and like blows, and loads of coins come out of his pockets, and there are sort of concealed areas on his body tucked away, and they get blown out of him, and they go into the crowd, and the crowd, they like pick up the coins, and they all like, I can buy a house now, oh, my financial troubles are over. And they're all like, yes, Sean Pertwee was the wealthy benefactor the entire time, and he was doing it for the money and magic, something about Robin Hood, some allegory there, and that's all fine. But I suppose that now we have been caught, we will be arrested. And Patrick Fabian is just like, he just like swipes a tear away from his eyes. Well, I had no idea that this entire time you truly are the greatest magicians I ever saw. And he pulls a lever on the stage, and a big bear trap cuts Sean Pertwee in half, and that is the end of the film.
I liked it.
And then...
fuck.
A title comes up, and it says 1 year earlier. And we go back to the beginning. Remember, we saw the big piles of money and the big fat stacks, Phil?
Yeah, I remember.
And the camera pans, and then there's Patrick Fabian. My motivation in this entire film is to get revenge or something on the system. Money, I don't know. Something went wrong when I was a kid. Now I am actually a magician, and I'll reveal my greatest trick. I will create 4 magicians from these piles of money. So it's not really a complaint when they just burst into money with no real explanation at all. So yeah, that is the trick of it. Fuck y'all! And then the film ends.
I like it. You've put in, I forget the man's name, a Shyamalan style twist. Is that right? Shyamalan?
M. Night Shyamalan, man.
Where they are actually made of money the whole time.
Exactly.
Can I tell you something else that I enjoy about your film pitches in general?
Yeah, gone.
How often you use the phrase, and that's all fine.
That was the joke from last week, but it really does sort of wrap everything up with a nice little bow, I think.
There was definitely a point in that one where you went, and that all happens and that's all fine.
It's all fine.
It's a brilliant way of progressing the plot along without really having to think about the impact of anything.
And it's akin to your, and eventually it turns out, rather than just like, I don't really want to explain this bit, so I'm just going to skip ahead. With mine, it's like, well, I just said something really fucking outrageous and morally objectionable. I'm just going to say it's all fine. So whoever's listening to this will hear, but it's all fine, and then move on. So the only other point I was going to say, at one point, there's Leslie Bibb in the crowd, and she's French. And she's like, I believe in magic. Fuck you. No, I don't. And that like motivates Patrick Fabian somehow. And that is pretty much, I mean, I just stole that completely from the original film, so...
it's all fine.
Yeah. I like that that happened.
Yeah, I mean, we can definitely say that all happened.
It's a terrible film. I felt so bad after I watched it.
Yeah, it's...
I don't know why I watched it. You did assure me it was awful.
Yeah, you never believe me with these things.
It sounded like they don't turn into money. That can't happen. And they do.
Yeah.
And it's not even like, I guess in the film it's sort of implied like, oh, they have holograms, so anything.
But still, like, they have the most advanced holograms of all time.
Yeah, that can be seen from multiple camera angles and from above where no one is even looking.
And that's fine.
Yeah, and that's fine. It's like it was made by me. It was like, oh, there's some holograms and that's fine. The end.
Like, every explanation of anything in that film is just like, oh, and that's all fine. Ignore that. There's nothing. It's fine.
I thought these film pitches would make us feel good about the fact we watched this film. And, like, they have. And I like the fact we picked up on pretty much the worst parts of the film. And they seem to be identical. And I like that we both did this. But I feel kind of hollow now.
Yeah, I do worry sometimes about how similarly our brains seem to work.
It's worrying, isn't it?
Yeah.
For some reason, I said at the beginning, I suspect we may have written about the same thing. So when you started talking about fucking magicians and Melissa Joan Hart and everything, I'm like, oh god, this is just...
I only realised later when I had written my pitch already that Melissa Joan Hart was like the obvious choice because she played a witch.
I completely forgot about that.
Yeah, I completely forgot about that while I was writing it, and then just realised that, of course, Melissa Joan Hart is in this film. She plays a witch.
I was originally going to put Leslie Bibb in that role, but I felt sorry for her. I couldn't have her being eaten by piranhas, whereas I think Melissa Joan Hart can sort of like take it a bit more.
Yeah, she's, what is that word that it always sounds dirty when people say it, but it's actually positive.
Feisty?
Spunky.
That really does sound...
She seems spunky. Melissa Joan Hart is spunky.
Yeah, full of spunk.
Yep, no, that's a different thing. I think we should cut everything out of this podcast.
There is a danger of that. Should we just call it a fucking day?
I am firmly in the calling it a fucking day camp.
I am thinking you are possibly right on that one.
So we don't have any good way of wrapping the episode up at present, do we?
We don't. We don't even have an ad read. We blew our load at the beginning.
This podcast has been madness. I couldn't for the life of me tell you anything that has happened in this episode. So it's probably as good a time as any to leave it there.
Fuck it. Let's knock this on the head and fuck off.
Yeah.
Yeah, good one this week. Pretty good. A bit of silliness, I have to say.
Yeah.
A bit of, hijinks, a bit of rapscallion-like behaviour.
Bit of tomfoolery.
Back on form next week, I think. It fucking won't be.
No.
No, I have nothing to end this on.
No. Bye.
Bye.